The CN regionals rage on, and we've got a fistful of rule changes, Rossas, and wrongful rebukes on this week's episode of The Winning Point.
Did you know that we always do that countdown from 10 to 0 because Sam doesn't want to count up and hear me do 6, 7?
Oh, I never thought about that, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So isn't the podcast older than the
It is
widespread used to do that meme?
Yeah, it might be.
Shocking.
Also, it's outlived that meme. I've been hearing a lot of the young people, if you 6, 7 around them, are like, "What the hell are you doing?"
I
What's wrong with
think
you?
this is a weird.
Over.
I think this might be a fake meme because I've never heard anyone that wasn't doing it ironically.
No,
Like,
I
I
have,
never heard it.
unfortunately. Yeah.
Okay, well,
He was around
Chalmers,
my
your son
kid,
old enough
so
to scold you.
Yeah, it was Charmer's kid.
okay.
There you go. See, that's what I figured was happening.
Where do we go from here? Where do we
How
go?
about-
from
Great
here?
question.
how about to an episode of
The Winning Point,
Yeah, there we go.
episode number 33.
33? That's
You can do it.
crazy.
That is crazy. Episode number 33. We are for the first time in a while a full house. You'll love to see it.
Quads, baby.
I, of course, am Blevins. Next to me is Casanova, followed by Charmer, and all the way from your own apartment that you always record from, it's pastry time.
Yep, from Australia via LA. Wait, all the way around. It doesn't matter.
It's all the same. How are y'all doing? It's been another week. I literally don't remember the last time we were all four on an episode. This is a treat.
Yeah, no, it's good. I'm still destroying my sleep schedule weekly.
Hell yeah.
Then trying to fix it, then fix it back, and yeah, my body is saying, "Please stop, please don't do this anymore." But is what it is. I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna ignore my body and say more co-streams coming tonight as of this episode releasing. But I still have a few more days to feel better.
Smart.
I feel okay-ish, maybe. I don't know. I booked my travel for Vegas. I'm still on the wait list though,
Hey.
so say a prayer
Ooh.
for me because I might show up and just vibe, I guess. I don't know. I don't even know if they'll let me in because even the guest passes or whatever are all closed. Like if you go to any of the registration stuff, you can't even wait list now. It literally just says closed. So thank God I'm
Oh, wow.
at least on the wait list, but everything is currently shut down.
They
But other
turn
than
you away
that,
at the airport.
yeah, things are looking up. Glad we got all four of us for our episode 33 before the gommage.
I'm busy, but enjoying Riftbound right now. It's been a lot. I feel like I've gone through the hyperbolic time chamber, learning a bunch about Spiritforged, actually playing some games, being very upset with some things that happen in my latter games. It's fine. But yeah, trolling Cass on the co-streams, the usual work getting put in day out. Among regular
Clocking
work.
in
But
to annoy
it's fun.
Cass on the co-stream.
You're just going
I
to
can do it
gloss
live,
over the
maybe.
fact that you crushed my Ornn deck with your. I don't know. I don't want to spill your
Yes.
tech. I don't want to spill your
Oh,
tech, but
That's fine. The people deserve to know about promising future looks. It's
Promising
fine.
Future Lux just absolutely destroyed. You'd think that Promising Future would be bad against Ornn, but I just kept hitting pit crews over and over again.
Yeah. And I hit
Okay,
Karina every
but
time.
I just want to say for the people at home, one of the things that is being left out, a real key piece of this, is that one of the players forgot that Call of the Week was a card, and they kept
Yeah.
playing into it with no runes up with a green
their
deck.
double deflect on. Also, only one of these decks is playing
Back-to-back
order, by the way.
games. Got
I had no other way to
absolutely
kill
blown
Owen,
out
by the
Call of
way.
Week. Forgot it existed. Got absolutely blown out by Call of the Week. A second game immediately after. Yeah.
Me sitting here
Technically-
thinking, how the hell is Lux beating Ornn? And that thank you, Charmer,
No.
for enlightening us on.
What it's worth, I did record the game, so if people are morbidly curious, you can maybe put it somewhere for people to see. It's a fun
I
little
did
set.
record them, but I burnt the recordings. I threw them in the pile of ashes with my old PC. If you know, you know. But we actually do have real stuff to talk about this week, despite this extended cold/warm open. Of course, Cass, take it away with our this is our final week, right, of co-stream.
Less of.
Yes and no. Final week of the regional opens with
Right.
Nanjing here, but as we know from the last set, this is usually followed by a national open that is yet to be announced. That we will also be covering probably. It depends on the dates, because I guess if it's like the same week as like Vegas or something, then we won't
during
cover
Vegas
it.
or
But
Bologna, probably not.
but any other week, then yeah, we're probably covering it. So it is the last one for now. But yeah, please tune in. That'll be tonight as of this episode airing. We still
Watch it right
have
now.
the mats available now. I don't know if we've said this on the pod yet, but now available for international shipping at shop.turnsideways.gg.
I
So
can finally get a mat.
yeah, so Blevins can finally get one. So for all the people who were asking for that, we did get it done. I know I've been promising, and well, I'm glad that I didn't break that promise. We've got they're here now.
This
You
was
can
the
do that.
promising
So,
future.
yeah, it was a promising future. There you go.
There it is. But that is exciting news. But we've got even more exciting news because guess what? Chinese cards are now legal in your English deck. We can do it. We got a big tournament rules update for January. And we've got a few different things. I mean, there's actually a lot in this in this update. This was a big one, I think, for a lot of different reasons. I think card availability and just access here. This is rule 420 for card language. 420.1 says players may include official Riftbound cards of any language in their decks during deck building and gameplay, which means Chinese cards are now legal in your English decks and vice versa. And once French cards officially released, they'll be legal as well. You can use them across all languages in any deck that you want.
Yeah, specifically rule 420 and not any other number. Yeah. That's, as Blevin stated. Immediately
It's
the
a
big
family-friendly show. Depending on what state you're in, that the other number might not be legal.
It does not mean that you can still just have cards that are like super curled and some that are not in your deck, notably. And the Chinese cards have been shown to curl pretty aggressively. So make sure you're double, triple sleeving if you're going to do mixed language decks. Because if Judge can still cut certain cards, you're still in trouble. But at least you can build your deck in this way.
Yeah, do not mark your cards, obviously. And Eagle Eye viewers may have noticed me shake my head. That's not because I think this is a bad change. I think this is an excellent change for the game. And I guess Blevins pointed out rightly that it doesn't just say Chinese and English, it does say any language. So presumably when the game gets printed into more languages, that does cover those bases as well. But yeah, I didn't buy any Chinese cards because I was like, well, I'm not going to be able to mix them, even though in a lot of cases they're a lot cheaper. And you can get them often earlier than you could the English cards, which also will probably not be happening in the relatively near future. But overall, this is just a change that basically every game has had to run with, and this is a great change. This is bad for no one, basically. Just means that more cards are in the pool for you to play tournaments, which is good.
No notes, nothing else to add. It's just good. As somebody who likes to play cards from other languages anyway, it's fine. For the players that I see taking notes who might not be coming from Flesh and Blood and you're trying to play that Miracle deck and do your stacking, here's a fun trick that you can do if you're running stuff that has like 2 copies. You can run 1 English and 1 Chinese, and then you just kind of like track the language as you go. And as we get more languages, it gets that much easier. Yes, you can do that with all arts and whatever, but not every card has that available. You could do like foil and non-foil, but overall, this is just one more way where you can take notes without taking notes.
True.
So, yeah.
It's a good point. Yeah, back in my day, Japanese foils were the coolest version of cards for the most part that you could get, or at least it was one of the more sought out versions. So let's take it back. Once we get Japanese language Riftbound cards, Japanese foil, I'm just going to say that's the coolest version for all the other paper boomers who are currently experiencing back pain. But yeah, overall, really good. I was actually considering for set 2, but legitimately considering for set 3, just saying, yep, I'm a full Chinese language gamer now. I'm just going to like keep a couple of collectibles and sell all of my English cards and just build all my decks in Chinese because it's going to be cheaper and I'm going to get the cards earlier. But now I just get to keep everything. So I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. But in any case, we move on. We got another. I think that this has been sort of lightly in effect for at least for the Chinese events, but this is in reference to cards like Obelisk of Power and Arena's Greatest. This is 506.3.c. It says, for triggers that occur, quote, at the start of each player's first beginning phase, the accountable player has the full duration of the turn in which the trigger occurs to acknowledge the trigger before it's considered forgotten, regardless of its observable impact. So if you forget your Obelisk of Power in the middle of your turn, you go, oh, I'll channel my rune. You can. Same with the Arena's Greatest Point. It does not have to specifically be in that very small window of at the start of your beginning phase on that first turn. You've kind of got your whole turn to find that without just losing out on an immense piece of the game, which we saw make a real difference.
I'd like to think that my and many others' visible disgust and constant soapbox rants about these things has made some small difference. But to be honest, even when I was in Houston talking to rioters, they always kind of agreed. Like, all the devs were like, this doesn't make any sense, especially because often this wasn't even a card you owned. This was your opponent's card. And you can't be expected to always know every single thing that your opponent's cards do at every single moment of every game. And yes, it's not that much to ask every player to like read both battlefields at the start of game, but sometimes you wait until like halfway through the first turn to read your opponent's battlefield, and it would really suck if that meant that you didn't get the thing that was supposed to happen. Yeah. It's just better this way. It doesn't hurt anyone. It's not a May trigger. It's better this way.
It's also nice just because in many ways it kind of encourages both players to maintain game state because they put in that regardless of observable impact, right? And it might seem like a small deal. It's going to be very niche, the example I'm going to provide. But if you have a situation where if player one, they channel their runes and they pass, player two plays a stack deck, plays a second stack deck, and they have not channeled like the additional rune from an obelisk or something, and you want to like hard bargain it, well, theoretically they might have a rune up for like a defy or something. There's like these really weird first turn scenarios that kind of go away if you're just held accountable for having to know the game state properly and saying like, hey buddy, like you should have another rune, because at the end of the day, you're right, there is no May here. Both players should just be like, oh, okay, we're both at one. Oh, we both should have an extra rune, et cetera, et cetera.
Another excellent change. Pretty much agree across the board. I'm glad this type of thing is happening. I will point out this is very specifically at the start of each player's first beginning phase. So if you miss your Jinx draw trigger, you cannot rewind that one with how the rules are currently enforced. So do be very careful which beginning triggers you are looking to rewind. But certainly it's ones that have a pretty big impact on how games work out and do feel pretty bad, especially as Cass pointed out, when it is your opponent's effect and not your own effect. The thing I really like about this though is that I hope it signals a shift in how policy is designed for events and competitive in general. I think there's always a tension between how lax and how strict you want to be in enforcing competitive policy, especially at the highest level of events. But I think this kind of thing is just a no-brainer. And I hope this means that we are trying to put the game in a state that feels comfortable and friendly without, taking away some of the things that people do like when rules are enforced maybe a little bit more judiciously, especially at the upper echelons of the game. So this to me signals something in the early life of a card game that's very important, that like Riot is listening and cares about things like this in terms of tweaking policy to be better for everyone. And this is just one of those easy changes to make that is kind of good across the board.
Yep. I am very much in favor of not having oops, I forgot in a scenario like this be a reason that a big game like action happens or doesn't happen.
Yep.
If there's a scenario presented and there's multiple options and it's not easy to determine what the correct option is, and a novice player is going to make the wrong choice more often, I'm fine with that. That's just games, right? Reward you for being better at the game or knowing the game better. But like, oops, forgot the thing that was written on my opponent's battlefield. That just stinks.
Yeah.
And like, Yeah, no. I would actually want it to go even a step further, and like we've already errated cards. Why not errata these to say at the start of like the first player's first beginning phase, both players get the thing. So it's on the first player's turn to like remember, hey, oh, I remember this, so I get it, and also you get it. It's not like there's never a scenario where one player gets it and the other player doesn't. Maybe there's a gameplay reason why they couldn't do that, but
yeah, it leaves open some design space where if you want to print cards later on, for example, that say something like, if you've scored a point this turn, do X, Y, or Z. And so if it triggers on the beginning of your turn and then you play like a 2-drop that also has that clause, you know, it could be something that you get an additional benefit from, right? Whereas if it happened on the other player's turn, then the first player gets an inherent bonus, and they already get a bonus in this game most of the time. So I like that they did it this way to keep the design space open. They just needed this rule to go with it.
Yeah, if you think it can't happen to you, by the way, Alan ZQ literally did this in Houston. So no matter how good at games you are probably worse than Alan. And if he can forget, then you can forget. So this is a good change.
Yeah, forgetting is not it. In my opinion, it's not a skill check that I am in favor of people making, at least in this way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Remembering your whole deck being pitched.
If you forget your stack, that's a skill issue. Yeah.
That's on you.
For me, this is akin to like, I forgot. It's the difference between I forgot to make that play with my knight versus I forgot I had my knight on the chessboard at all. One is game state and the other is a player choice. This is game state, so it should just be auto enforced in my opinion. But
yeah. Yep. Nope. I agree. I feel like most people agree with this and are in favor of this. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's not the case for this next one, but this is certainly for me. We have official rules for draft. So excited. This is 602.4.b for those who are following along at home. Basically, the TLDR is draft works the same as sealed, except your deck size, your maximum deck size is 20, not 25. Or sorry, your minimum deck size is 20, not 25.
Yeah, I was actually gonna ask because I don't know that I read it closely enough on deck size. Is it minimum, maximum, or both? Is it just 20, or can you have more cards? Because I don't remember seeing.
Pretty sure
that.
you can add more. It's certainly minimum. At a minimum, it is minimum, and at a maximum, it is maximum. But I saw a lot of people asking why did they change it to 20, and we actually did this math on one
weeks
of the
ago.
Streams. Where it was like people were like, "Well, why can't you just make it the same rules as sealed?" And of course, I brought out everyone's favorite Belvins, who thinks of every stupid corner case, but in this case it's relevant, where you could technically draft an illegal deck if your maximum deck size is 25, because you would not have enough cards in 3 different regions to support a 25 card deck. That is technically true, Belvins. You are technically correct, and we do technically hate you. But with 20 cards, it's impossible mathematically to draft an illegal deck that contains 3 colors.
Hate Belvins like we hate the guy Blevins made up that doesn't like that draft rules got released.
No, people don't like draft. It is crazy. Like it is not an uncommon opinion I've come across the years where people are like, "Oh yeah, I just don't like draft." Not that they're not good at it. Not that they like it, but they're not good at it. They just actively don't like playing draft or sealed.
Some people think the Earth is flat, Cass. They're wrong, but they think it.
I don't like draft until I'm playing draft, and it's great. I just think I don't like it. I think I actually like it. Is how it works. I'm also very bad at draft.
You love it.
It's mostly what it is. I probably love it. I like Cube. Anyway,
that's draft.
It's basically draft.
It is draft. That's true.
So if you've never drafted and you have no idea what we're talking about with draft, the real quick version is you're building a deck out of 3 packs, but you're sitting at a table, generally with 8 people. You open a pack, take a card out of it, that goes into your deck pool. You pass that pack to the left. Everyone at the table is doing that. You draft all the cards out of the first pack. You do the same thing with the second pack, except you pass to the right. You do the same thing with the third pack, except you pass to the left again. You're going to end up with a pool of 39 cards with which you make a 20 card deck and then play an event with that. That's draft, and all the same rules for sealed. So up to 3 domains, don't need a legend, don't need a chosen champion, signature cards, signature spells, or I guess no, actually they are signature cards because there are non-spells.
Yeah.
Need to be in the two of the colors you are using need to be the same 2 as that. You don't need to use the same. You don't need to use the legend in order to play the signature spell. But yeah, really
Any
glad that
champion,
draft
champ zone,
exists.
as long as it's in your
Yep.
colors.
As long as it's in the colors. Yep.
Yep.
And if you don't have either a legend or a chosen champ, you draw 1 extra card at the beginning of the game. Yeah, which is really cool. What's also really cool, and I didn't actually see many people talking about this, we have a little line here, 602.4.b.2.i, that says, at professional OPL, drafts must be timed at competitive, and then the rest of it doesn't matter. The fact that professional OPL and competitive OPL is referenced with the is mentioned with reference to limited brings joy to my heart, because that is not something that we had promised or even necessarily talked about as a possibility, where there's going to be competitive level limited play. It is entirely possible that it could have just been pre-rift events and hey, there's fun side events where you can play sealed. It was never promised, at least that I knew of, that there was going to potentially be professional OPL level limited events, which is really makes me very happy, because that's my favorite thing to do is high level.
And there may never be, but now there can be, if there is.
Yeah.
I am hoping still for split
is.
formats for regionals and worlds.
Yep.
Like when I say regional, I don't mean the RQs. I mean actually the regional, the full on regional.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when that comes around, because when the OPL structure was mentioned, it was mentioned that a regional was essentially the equivalent of a pro tour, as far as like looking at other games. So I'm hoping that at our pro tour, our regional, that we get split format, because I think that would be really nice. I do think that draft is really skill testing in this game. I say draft, I mean so far limited. I think sealed is the gameplay of sealed, I think, is quite skill testing. I think draft will just increase that more, because in general, if you haven't played a lot of limited draft, it tends to be more skill testing than sealed, because sealed you just open packs and oops into whatever deck you found, whereas draft you're actually having to make decisions throughout and read signals of people sitting next to you and actually, build a deck in that way, or just put the blinders on and force whatever you want to do. But that's another story. But I definitely
handhold to 8, no pivot.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm pretty interested in seeing split format. I would love to commentate split format. I would love to play it if I were to qualify for the PT. Either way.
Yeah, I would love to commentate, not just split format, but I would love to see something where it's almost like block draft, right? Because I'm old enough to remember that from Magic. So if we had something where it was like, the first 3 sets of Riftbound and you're getting a pack of each as you go throughout. So now you're not just like reading signals, but you have to pay attention to what's in each set, what's going to be important, etc. I think that would be a lot of fun. I love limited. It's my favorite way to play any card game. So this did excite me as well, Blevins, but I do have a gripe about what was on that screen. So for me, the issue is the clarity. I happened to notice that there was professional, competitive, casual, high, and low OPL all mentioned on one page. And I doubt that there are actually 5 different tiers. So I feel like one is like old references and one is updated references, and they just missed it on the pass. But you got to be like really, I think, consistent when it comes to the tournament stuff. I think it was on the next one for the producer that was looking for it. Yeah, here. So, at the bottom here, it says at professional OPL, drafts must be timed. At competitive OPL, drafts are timed at the discretion of the head judge. At casual OPL, drafts are untimed. But then right above that, we have at high OPL, players can't look at cards. And at low OPL, this is allowed at any time as long as the player is not holding other cards. And so for me, it's like, okay, well, if you have 3 things below, like which one of those are high, which one of those are low, and specifically, like, is competitive the same as professional, or is that like a middle tier,
I think
et cetera, et cetera?
this is a square rectangle thing. I think
Yeah.
if I had to guess, high and low are groupings, and each of the others are the specific ones. Would be my guess.
Sure, but then what is, if the other one is actually 3 and not 2, then what does competitive fall into? Is it high or is it low?
Probably high.
Got to be high. I'm going to say professional and competitive are high, and then everything else is low.
But I agree with you. There should be more clarity. I mean, it
should
agree.
Be
defined, but yeah, I mean, it might be
so
defined elsewhere in the rulebook.
602.b.2.h.1, please, if you could. Please write that up for us. And, submit that in the comment section. It may be elsewhere in the rulebook
for one of the other sections that also has competitive, and yeah, I don't know, but if it's not, then it should be. So.
Look, if we're opening up random things for Limited, I think Limited is fascinating to watch as a player that's very good at Limited. I enjoy watching it because it's such a great puzzle to see unfold, especially by the best players in the world. But let's just bring back Team Rochester Draft if we're trying to revive ancient relics of different games past. I think Rochester's sick. I think it's really good at showing the divide between player skill, because if you are really good at that format and your opponents are not, you absolutely smoke them every single time. Yeah. If you don't know what Rochester Draft is, basically it's drafting, but if a team meets with multiple people, you have to worry about that. You can do it with both individual people like Blevins described, or in teams of usually 3 each, so 6 players total. But you basically draft, except everyone can see every card in every pack and every pick. So the information is no longer hidden or as obfuscated as it is in draft sometimes. Depending on what you end up seeing, because obviously not every player will see every card in every pack. Rochester is just, you open the pack, literally place it on the table, and people pick them that way. That's basically it, the difference.
And, I want to see that for 2v2 or the mythical 5v5, where it's 2 games of 2v2 for top and bottom. Yeah.
All right, let's take notes for an influencer.
Not the League of Legends.
Let's do it. Also, I grew up in Rochester, New York, which is where that format originated. So, small world.
Wow.
Well, a suburb of Rochester, technically. But yeah, really cool, really awesome updates. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. What was your favorite thing? What are you thumbs up or thumbs down on draft? Are you buying Chinese cards exclusively for set 3, and are you still going to want even more when English releases? Because I'm legitimately not sure what I'm going to do for set 3 now, because the stonks of Chinese set 3 are going up in my mind. Not literally like the value, just my desire to get them is quite high compared to what it would have been. But we got some other news, and in fact, this is if you're hearing this now, it's too late. But we did get the Spiritforged pre-order update or re-release update here. TLDR is instead of it just being first come first serve, there's now a drawing system. So you get in, you submit your name to be drawn, and if you're randomly picked, you have a window to buy one of the products. The products being a Spiritforged box, one of the two, or each rather of the 2 starter decks. So yeah, I mean, this is, I think from what I've seen, like as we're recording this went live today. I think it was announced either yesterday or 2 days ago, and my anecdotal just looking around the internet seems people are pretty happy with this rollout, at least compared to what it was before. Did anyone get into the raffles? Anyone heard?
My name is in the hat. Did I get a slip back? I don't think so. Not yet.
I did not try. But I'm good on the products that I was able to get on pre-order through my LGS, so I don't need to enter. Can leave more room for others, I guess. But realistically, I do think that the raffle's a good idea. I think the race to try and refresh the screen is never a good thing, and I really like that they're trying something else. Let people get in.
Another great change. It's all positivity. It's been a good day. Also, the thing at the end they said is they're also continuing to iterate. Like, I think responding to what happened with this is excellent. I think saying that we are continually committed to making this even better is really good. Like that is the kind of thing you want to see from just about any company that makes a thing that you like. And it's nice that the Riftbound devs and the team at large seem to very much be listening to the community. So I'm actually surprised I haven't seen something like this in other spaces I'm in. So I'm glad it exists here because this seems much more pleasant than other things I have done.
This technology must be like an unknown dwelling or like a secret lair, if you will.
Interesting. I hope people saw this. This is what I hope they saw today when they did the thing, and then hopefully you get an email that says, "I don't know, you win whatever you win," which is the
ability to
permission to
buy
buy
a box.
things.
I was gonna say, well, so there were 3 things that you actually had to put in the hat for.
If you
I
wanted
only
to,
put
yes.
in for the booster display, but
Me too.
there were also the decks as well. And as you can see on the screen, it says it will only work for 24 hours if you're selected. But if you're listening, you can't see the screen. So that's why I'm saying it out loud. And they're going to do the drawing between the 9th and the 13th. And yeah, good luck.
Good luck.
Hopefully
Also,
you get it.
I did know that if you selected multiple things, you cannot edit your cart later, which I think is a very clever thing to do. So if you decided you wanted to try for everything, if you get in, you have to buy everything that you said you would try for. You can't change and be like, oh, actually, I only wanted this. But, you know, if this was all that's left, I would have taken it. Like, you have to actually commit to all the things that you're given, which I think is like a nice little tweak for something like this, where, again, people aren't just like needlessly throwing names into hats, hoping gold falls out or whatever. Like, actually, a little bit of intention, some space for people to, you know, read, get registered, all that stuff, and then obviously buy their product if they're selected. So, I mean, it won't be perfect, and I know from everything they've said that they're trying to make basically as much stuff as possible. I mean, clearly they didn't make enough, and trust me, no company who's selling out of something is happy that happened, because clearly there's a lot more people they could have sold to. And when it's a physical product, especially, like, that's pretty important to, you know, if you're the broom company, to sell your brooms, which I think was the analogy I used last time. But I do, again, like, this is relatively thoughtful for how quick I imagine this came up, and that's quite impressive.
Yeah, biggest thing that it addresses is the bots issue.
Yep,
You know,
get them out of here.
This sort of window allows for an added level of verification that the people that are buying are real. I also think that, you know, even if people are, I think that there's just less for people to complain about in this system. It's like, oh,
yeah,
you put in, I wanted one of this thing. That's as much as you could get. I got the thing. Cool.
I personally think that it fixes one of my major frustrations that I had with the experience the last time, which is when you make it as far as the cart and you're like trying to input payment info, it's still not reserved for you. And so the bots were still scooping stuff up so fast. So in this scenario, because they are doing it via raffle, they also are going to be able to kind of turn the knob and kind of control when those emails go out. That's how I think why they gave that 4-day window, so that not everybody's trying at the same time and running into the same issue, right? Like, we know that they use the shop account on the back end. So I think this is a way where they can meter the bandwidth necessary for all the purchases.
Yep. Yeah, and again, another reminder that if you don't get into this, reach out to your LGS. I know I'm in a similar boat to Cass, where like I'm quite content with the product I'm getting from my LGS, as well as some boxes that I'll get at Bologna. But I mean, I still put in to get another box because I'm a degenerate and I want one. But at the very least, like, again, this is like, I understand people's frustrations, especially if you don't have an LGS that's near you. You know, we've talked about it before, so I won't beat a dead horse. But I want to reiterate that the Riot web store is not the main channel to distribute Riftbound products. It is not meant to be. And I feel like a lot of the complaints and frustrations have come out they seem as though they are implying that it actually is the main method or a main method of distributing product to people, when really it's not. It's a supplementary thing. It's almost like hey, this is a cool thing. You can get a box. That's cool. And for some people, it is their only method. And again, I get that and I empathize with that. But like, you know, especially if you have access to one, go to your LGS, and hopefully they're not one of those like $400 box.
I mean,
because
I will say this, for the number of folks that I've spoken to where this is their very first card game ever, it does make sense that they might think that the Riot store is the premier way, because that's where you go to buy Riot products. And then it's exacerbated by, like, yes, when you talk to other players or whatever, they're all going to say, well, you go to your local game store, but the experience so far with set one was you go to the local game store and they don't have any either. And then people say like, oh, well, you might be able to find some at like Walmart or Target, but you go there and they don't have any either. So yes, the local game store is 100% where you should be going 99% of the time, because you want to support the spaces where you're going to be able to play the game. And it will get better over time, but I do understand, especially for the new players, why they might feel that way.
Yeah, I get that. But in any case, positive things going forward, and hopefully it will get even better as we move on into future sets. But last thing to talk about before we get into a little mailbag is we had a regional happen. We had guess what? Not Draven. Draven did not win.
Yeah.
We did weird. We had 2 Dravens in the top 8 and 2 controversies, which we'll talk about here in a second. But for all the pastry, you woke up from your hyperbolic time chamber, and guess what? Kaisa is still winning.
Kaisa still there.
Kaisa still
Look
winning.
at that.
Yep. Yeah, no, it was the least. So the numbers for Draven have been going down week over week. This started at 39% of the room is Draven, or something close to that, 36, something like that. And then it went down to like 29, and then now it was 25% of the room was Draven. So steady decline over the 3 weeks. And then as well as when it comes to the like top 16, top 8, we had the top 8 being 2 Draven, 1 Aurelia, 1 Kaisa, 1 Ezreal, 1 Fiora, 1 Jax, and 1 Sivir. So a spread of 7 different legends in our top 8. And Draven didn't even make the final this time around. In fact, it was Ezreal versus Kaisa to close out the day, with Kaisa claiming her 5th win in China, making it impossible for anyone to surpass her this set when it comes to wins in China, because Draven at max can get to 4 if he wins the next one and the National Open. So Kaisa will be the undisputed queen for a little bit longer as far as Riftbound in China is concerned.
Yeah. If you want to watch those games, you can do it on this channel. I recommend it wholeheartedly. The coach rooms have been great. It's been a way for me to catch up on kind of what's happening in competitive and Spiritforged, and it's just a good vibe. Maybe I'll even be on the show one time. Who knows?
I know that I'll be on the show one time, at least.
Certainly, Cass will be on the show sometimes.
I'll be there tonight for the next one, as we see if Draven can win again, or if Kaisa will still remain queen, or there are plenty of other decks that might be able to make it, because we had 7 different legends in the top 8, and really any of them could have got there. We saw Ezreal make the final. The Rat not looking that great into this style of Kaisa. Kaisa, of course, being a lot more controlling nowadays, not even playing Darius because it just gets rebuked in the current meta, so just playing a lot more spells, just looking to play a lot of a slower game, units that can trip, like the Yordle and the Sentry, playing a little bit more to akin to what the spell-heavy Victor looks like, but generally I would say a bit better, because it's Kaisa with just her spells being a bit stronger and Kaisa Legend ability being so good, and so many of the cards drawing cards off of themselves, so it looked quite good. But as Blevins mentioned, there was a little bit of controversy at the Dalian Regional Open. In our top 16, we did have a Draven player going up against a Jax, the highest placing we have ever seen Jax. And in the third and final game, after 2 kind of blowouts, it was like first game Jax just one-handedly, then Draven one-handedly, and then in the final game, it was a pretty close game, but going back and forth. Gets towards the very last turn of the game, and the Draven ends up not paying for a rebuke. They had 9 runes. They played a spinning axe in order to conquer one side. Then they played a rebuke to bounce something before playing a Mind Splitter, which, if you're doing the math at home, that is 11 runes. There was a moment that when it looked as though he was asked about paying for the rebuke, he pointed to the 2 seals he had exhausted. Whether they were asking if he had paid for the power and deflect cost that was required on that rebuke, or if he had paid the energy, I am unsure, but there was at least visually an ask about whether or not something had been paid. He seemed to indicate that it had been, and then they finished out the game with Draven winning due to this play happening with that extra rebuke coming through. It was reviewed afterwards as it was caught on the mainstream as well, caught by the casters, caught by their chat, and eventually the ruling was that he would be given just a game loss in this and that Jax would advance to the top 8.
Yeah. Kind of crazy. Yeah, not really too much else to comment on. Like, improperly played a turn. They caught it, I guess, technically still in time so that the Jax could move on, because they would have won in that scenario. But yeah. Weirdly enough, though, not the only controversy in the event. There was another one in the top 4. Actually, it was Sivir versus Kaisa. And TLDR, and before I explain this, let me know what you think how much do you think Rasa should cost in this scenario? Rasa is in the trash, and there's a last rites on, it was on Fizz. So the Fizz is trying to reanimate Rasa. There were 7 cards. There's 7 total cards in the trash, including the Rasa. How much does the Rasa cost? Let us know in the comment section below. Be honest. We'll be able to tell if you cheated. The correct answer is it should cost 4, because for whatever reason, the Rasa does not count itself in the trash when you're casting it for its own cost reduction.
Yeah.
I could not give you a reason why, other than that's what the rules say. That is not the thing in question. What ended up happening was the Sivir player, who was Randy, who we've mentioned a few times on the show before, thought it was going to cost 3, which, again, I would imagine a bunch of you put 3 in the chat. I can look in the future. Reasonable think it might cost 3. Thinks it is going to cost 3. Plays the Rasa to base. Has 3 runes for an Ezreal. Before that gets played, Judge says, "Oh, that actually costs 4." Randy goes, "Oh, okay." Rewind back to the cast. Instead, decides to put it on the battlefield, and turn moves on. Kaisa draws their card. They're in the tank because it's top 4, big turn. Essentially, we were on the broadcast on the co-stream when this happened. Cuts to casters, and we're like, "What happened? We're not sure what's going on." Few minutes go by. They go back. They put the Rasa back into the base and essentially say that it was already played there. Even though they rewound, they said, nope, it was originally played to base. It has to stay at base. And yeah, that was the ruling that was made by the judge. Found out after the fact via Twitter that Randy had actually appealed to the highest level. The judges sort of ruled all unanimously in this way, and we did the math a bunch of times because we had a bunch of time in between during the judge call. It ended up making quite a big impact there in terms of Sivir being able to win versus not, and therefore Kaisa ends up winning the game, winning the match, and eventually winning the event in the finals.
Yeah, remember when we said that being able to go back on your obelisk and Arena's greatest triggers is a really sensible rules change? It's a little more lax in a good way. This is kind of another situation where it's current policy doesn't really support anything other than extremely judicious application of the rules, at least in events that we've seen. I think particularly based on my understanding of what I've seen in Chinese co-streams, judging certainly appears to be pretty strict, and they've kind of carried that through most of their events, even though I think they've probably loosened a little. This is a spot where I think policy just doesn't currently exist to cover, but I think it's very reasonable. And certainly if you're familiar with other games, there's been plenty of rewinds that also feel very reasonable. Quite recently, in fact, depending on how closely you cover other games. But Yeah, I think this is just a case of like they are applying policy the way they see they should, which is to be extremely strict. And I think that is not necessarily the direction that the game wants to go in, but that is the direction the game currently is in. So I appreciate the player doing everything they can to try and get the result they wanted, which I think is a very reasonable thing to seek. And I imagine that currently they just could not, which is unfortunate, but also currently the rules. And I assume they will change at some point in the future.
Yep. And as noted, Randy has a full, set of tweets that you can go check out on his Twitter. But he did mention that his opponent didn't even call for this judge interaction at all. His opponent was just there. Neither of them even noticed. It had been passed. It had gone to the Kaiser's turn. He had started the turn. I think that's where a lot of the biggest issues come from too, is they waited until the Kaiser's turn had begun. They were already playing the game with the Rasa at the battlefield. No big deal. Opponent doesn't care about that. That seems fine, reasonable to him. And then dialed it all the way back, but not all the way back, just back enough to where it is played at base on the rewind, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, I think, at the end of the day, especially because the player playing the game did not even ask for this. And I think that is part of where it gets really, really weird in that spot. And so hopefully Randy is able to get into Nanjing next week. He is currently not in via lottery, but he will be going to the event and hoping to get in on like the last chance to kind of make it, because he went for the full 4 weeks. He only got one chance, and with his one chance he did make top 4 and reasonably could have made that final if he knew one little simple rule about the Rasa
about 2 specific cards in the game and how they interact in a very weird way.
And look, realistically, if anyone was going to know that rule, I would have expected Randy to, because of the reps he's put in on that deck. I've been testing with him for this season for Bologna and everything. He's played it a lot. And if you watch his games, you can see how meticulously he played every single turn of the game to make sure the language barrier was never an issue. And the one time there's a mistake, it ends up costing him. So we'll see. Randy will be back for vengeance, whether in Nanjing or in Bologna with the deck, I'm sure. So
I will say, you mentioned that like if someone would know the interaction, it would be him. I don't know if anyone really knew that interaction going into it. Like, it's not an easy one to look up, or like even if you're playing Sivir, I guess it is a very relevant interaction in that deck for what it's worth.
And what I'll say is, usually by the time that you're last writing, you just have like 15 cards in the bin. So when we've been testing the deck, generally the Rasa has just been free. Or it's been like an irrelevant cost where it's like 1 or 2 and you've got like 6 runes up. This was a very specific situation where it mattered a lot, because often when we had these questions, it was like, oh, should that cost 3 or 4 here? We would just ask somebody and we'd find out like a day later. We'd play one way and we'd ask, we'd like dig and we'd find out. The fact that never came up in testing because of just the nature of the deck is a bit surprising, but yeah, that's just kind of is what it is in this spot. And thought he knew, and turns out he was wrong. And at the moment on the co-stream, I believe one of us asked like, oh, will this cost 3 or 4? Like, does it see itself or not? And we didn't know. They paid 3 and we're like, well, I guess it's 3. And then the judge call came and we're like, oh, never mind, guess it's 4. Like we had no idea until that moment happened. So,
and I think even if you like now, if someone asked us, we would know the answer, and they're like, oh, okay, why? I'd go,
oh, well, so it's because the card goes on the chain before you pay. So because it is now
the card.
It has moved zones by the time you're actually paying for it. It is no longer in that zone.
I still think there's weird scenarios.
Declare the play, then pay costs.
I think this is a old chromatic chromatic sphere on MTGO. And being able to
there's no way we could know. Both me and Charmer explain how we can. There's nobody could possibly understand.
Levins, it's not how LED used to work. Okay, the sure? Magic Broom is out there watching. It's it's not. Sure? It's not like that. Yes, I'm very sure.
Okay, I'm not even going to go into it because clearly it's an unknowable question.
We don't have time to explain that one.
But I mean, long story short, I think the 2 things I'll bring up is that one, there is and we showed a picture of it, but we might be able to bring it back up because I don't remember the number. It's like 702.9 or something. There is at least a basis of a ruling for this scenario, but it's not a concrete one. Like we kind of talked about, it's a bit more nebulous and kind of to judge discretion. Because it's like it basically says like if there's a mispayment of cost, you rewind back to when the spell was played, and then it's like, well, is that when you're choosing where it goes or blah blah, blah. Like, so there's a little bit of ambiguity there. Long story short, I will say the second thing I wanted to bring up is that, you know, Randy obviously was not the beneficiary of this ruling, ended up losing a game that they at the very least could have won, but they did handle the follow-up and the sort of the press of it with class, which is something that I want to point out, because not everyone does that when they get when they have a ruling that does not go in their favor, even if you can look at how it should have went and it doesn't. And it's not the way that it ended up going. So yeah, if you can see on the YouTube feed, you can see Randy's sort of response there. And there's the 702.9 if you want to look at the actual ruling for mispayment of costs. But yeah, I think Randy handled the whole thing in a classy way and handled it well, better than I know a lot of card gamers might when they get a ruling that is not in their favor. So kudos to them for that.
Yeah.
But I think we've got some mailbag questions. We're back in at our favorite segment of the show. This is from Jacob Vandergriff 1187. It says, really feel like we're sunshine pumping on the Draven front. Luckily, there is diversity even in Draven builds, so it does kind of save it from being too same. If your goal is to win the tournament, then it's pretty clear the choice is to pick Draven. Pretty much every traditional checkpoint, day 2 conversions, et cetera, tells us this. Luckily, the best of prizing will always incentivize good players to bring other decks, which allows for some other legends to slip into top cuts. Well, I got yourself a nice plate of crow to eat. Did I pick this comment specifically after we knew the results of this tournament? Yes.
We'll see if it continues. While I agree with some of what Jacob is saying here about the day 2 conversion, the top 3, like all of this, like, yeah, Draven seems like, and I don't, the thing is I don't, maybe we've been saying, like, being on the hopeful side of things that there are other decks, but also I truly believe there are other decks that are good enough to win right now. But I have also been pretty consistent in saying that I believe Draven is the best deck. So I don't know where the like, oh, it's everything is fine kind of situation. But I also do think everything is fine. So you know what? I'll just double down. I'll sunshine pump, I guess. We have a best deck in Draven, but we also have probably 4 or 5 other decks that can compete and potentially win on any given day. I think finally the version of Sivir that can compete for a win has been revealed. That was Randy's version. I think historically people were playing Aurora. I think that deck's not bad. I don't think it can really win a tournament. I think Kais is good enough to win. Has to hit mostly Dravens. Needs to dodge some of the more... needs to dodge Aurelia. Let's just say that. I think Aurelia can win. I think Ezreal can win. And we've seen Fiora make 2 finals at this point. While I even think that deck is worse than some of the other lists that probably are more likely to win tournaments. So I think we got a lot of decks that are good. 7 decks in the top 8 of a pretty big tournament is a good indication that our meta is healthier than initially thought. And yes, Draven is the best deck and will continue to potentially be the best choice for players looking to win the tournament. There it is.
Yeah, I think Aurora could win a Nexus Night. Pretty good at your local meta, maybe. Otherwise, this feels basically like the metagame texture of Kai'Sa Yi, but instead of 2+1 deck, there's like 5+ decks, which is a much better what to be in. I think 25% is, depending on the size of the tournament, is kind of meta share where I'm like, oh, that is kind of a lot. But I will say, even in like other games, metagame share is like, that's not even that high. Like, and I've seen diverse events where more people have brought a deck, even more copies, and it's been fine. So I think it's fine to have a best deck. I think Draven is a frustrating, but actually more interesting than it looks best deck. And clearly there's more weapons than there were in Origins when we had that meta to fight. So I'm actually really looking forward to how things develop, especially once the West starts playing their own regional qualifiers.
I'll just say there's always a best deck. The question is just how much of a gap between the best deck and the next best decks is there.
And
And
do you like
I
it?
think that is unsettled right now, and that's where the sunshine pumping, if we want to call it that, comes from, at least from me. I also agree that Draven is probably at least the most consistent deck, which very much translates to the best deck oftentimes in card games, but I don't think that it's an unbeatable deck. And I certainly think that there's a lot more room to iterate and gain on the deck. So I just think that it's fine. I'll say everything is fine, just like Cass. I'll triple down for him.
It's fine.
It's
I'll
fine.
quadruple down because one, yes, there has to be a best deck. That's just the case. There's always going to be a best deck. That's fine. I will also say, from having watched or having been on the co-streams, like, we have not been, and this is not a dig at the players. I'm not trying to say that everyone is bad. We have not seen master level play of every other deck going against Draven. It has not been the case. We have seen more games than I can count that have been tossed away to a Draven deck because of either careless mistakes or misplay or whatever you want to call it. I think Draven has a wider berth for how expertly you need to play the deck, especially against other decks. So if you misstep at all against Draven, the deck looks insane and impossible to beat. You walk right into that rebuke and holy crap, how in the world do I ever beat this? But if you play around the card, all of a sudden the deck looks a lot more beatable. And we have not seen a consistent number of masterful players play consistently against these Draven decks. So I'm really I really am in the boat of like, maybe Draven is the best deck if you just look at like what deck you are most likely to win the tournament with, but I don't think it is the most powerful deck when two masters are playing against each other. Which is what I'm looking at.
I think
Jund
I
is
still
gonna
disagree.
Jund.
I still disagree. I think Draven is like broken and still the
That's
best
fair.
deck, but like
That's
I
fair.
just don't think it's like I just think there's still like plenty of other good game to be played.
Yeah.
I just,
Also, the other thing I'll say is like, I'm like not even against making these claims. I'm against making these claims after week 1 and week 2,
yeah.
or even
Yeah,
before the tournaments were played. Like, come on. Like, I get it. There's not a lot to do during the week, so let's complain incessantly about the results of one tournament. I get it, but also, come on. Anyway, last question of the day from our mailbag again. Get your comments in on this very video because you may get your question or comment on our mailbag. This one is from Jake Kassar 6554, who says, why am I the only one calling the Ez deck Rat Race? And I think that question is legitimate, and you are now no longer the only person calling the deck Rat Race. I'm calling it
Because
Rat
Blevins
Race
is
from
gonna
now
do
on.
it.
It's
Yeah.
gotta be.
Yikes.
no, that works. We definitely on the
Spectacular.
co-stream in the mirror called it the Rat Race when they were playing each other, but not calling the deck the Rat Race. So I could go up from just calling the mirror the Rat Race to just the archetype the Rat Race. I could be on board. But what this does lead me to is now, for next week's mailbag, what I need everybody in the comments to do is rename Miracle Draven or Miracle Archetype,
Please.
because it's not Miracle. It is just not. There's nothing about it. It's such a bad name. I don't even know who coined it. Stop it. Call it anything else, but not what I've been calling it on the co-stream, because we can't say that.
Yeah, let's name
We can't
No.
say that.
Band together.
Medic said you can say that on an official
Yes.
Riot broadcast.
Yes, Medic said I can say it on an official Riot broadcast once, and then I won't be able to say it anymore. So we need an official, safe for broadcast name that is not
of
Miracle.
Dredge.
League of Dredge.
But
I just think in general, this brings up a good point that the Riftbound community does need to band together and give the decks better
We
names.
need
They have
better
had
names.
extremely unfun, very uninteresting, bland names that have no soul and very little history. We can change it.
Yeah.
The time is now. It is only the second set of the game.
Look, when the best
We
thing
can be the
we've got
difference
is
we want to see in the world.
Eggplant Yi, come on. We can,
And that name was actually
that's the best
fire.
one.
That was actually
That's the best one we have.
That's the best one.
That's the best one we have.
That's true.
So we can go up
We can
from
do
here.
We can go up from Eggplant E.
Second place, deck 'em down, Draven.
and we get to say it one time.
One time.
We're all aspiring to come up with deck names as great as TLC, bald eagle, a pinky in the brain. We're hoping for that. We want more of that, less Azirarelia aggro, less let's take a name from another game and obscure it into this one because the play pattern is kind of the same-ish, I guess, because you play cards and draw cards, maybe. Anyway, that is going to be it for our mailbag. That is going to be it for this episode of The Winning Point. It's been a good one. This has been a great one. Again, make sure you
Great
are
work.
checking out the co-stream, which is going to be later tonight on this very channel. If you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. You can get your comments, your questions on the mailbag for next week. Potentially, make sure you get them here or on Spotify. I'll definitely at least think about checking Spotify questions next week.
I can't believe
I'll probably
Blevins lies to our audience every single
Can't
week.
believe he does this.
It's actually unbelievable.
every time, every single time. Anyway, that is going to be it for this episode. For Casanova, for Charmer, for Pastry Chime, for the whole Term Sideways crew, I am Blevins.